Hello and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Shop with Mentosphere. I'm your host Medha, and in this series we have real, unfiltered conversations about career success, jobs, and work life. Keeping our promise of diversity intact, on this episode we're chatting with someone special from the photography industry, an industry that is estimated to be 1 lakh crore in valuation today. And weddings to the photography industry, and you're looking at one of the fastest growing sectors of our times. When you think of weddings, you think of the guest on our podcast today. Lakshya Chawla is the founder of Shutterdown Photography, one of the leading wedding photography outfits in the country today. Lakshya is known for his creativity, his finesse, and an element of fun that he brings to everything he does. He's Times of India's most influential personality 2021. And the best part is that he's an encyclopedia when it comes to everything weddings and is an absolute breeze to chat with. Thank you so much for joining us on this show, Lakshay.
Hey, Med, I'm so glad to be here. This is very exciting.
Likewise, super excited to dive into this. We honestly have to begin this chat by recognizing how far photography and wedding photography in particular has come in the last decade or so, Lakshay. Interestingly, photography as a career choice picked up steam around the time when you began your career, which is, around 2012, 2013. It's almost like you knew and you were doing your MBA back then. How did photography really happen for you?
So honestly, wedding photography has evolved way beyond I thought it would evolve, to be very honest. So I always had a camera with me where I used to take everywhere. I used to click leaves and people go to Chandni Chowk and click what every wedding photographer would want to do.
Right.
And, when I entered my MBA, I used to shoot every session. I wanted to shoot everybody. I realized that people is my passion. Like I love clicking people. I love clicking emotions in the portraits. My sister was getting married and, I shot a few photos and I just put it on my Facebook. At that time, Facebook was the thing. There was nothing called Instagram at that point. So I just put it on Facebook just for fun, that, hey, my sister got married. And then one of my seniors from the college just asked me that, hey, why don't you, shoot my wedding? It just started off like that. I would say wedding photography has changed genres completely. When I started off, it was so tough to tell my parents what I'm doing exactly. And like back in the day, wedding photography was kind of considered to be a blue-collar job. A blue-collar job is not respected, unlike USA, other developed countries.
True.
Being considered as a blue-collar job, you're an MBA, coming from a family where, you've had generations of people who've been doing business and, suddenly you're like, oh, I want to be a photographer. My mom got a shock. So she asked me twice that, are you photos at weddings?
Something typically seen as a service, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was earning decently. I wouldn't say fantastic, but it was good enough for me to sustain, survive, grow a little bit. And eventually I realized the wedding photography industry has taken a storm suddenly. It used to be like, sab kuch slow-mo mein kar do in wedding films or sab beautiful ho jayega.
Come a long way from that.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem back then was education lag. YouTube itself was just in its early phases of life. So what happens that, education is limited. You're embarrassed to ask very basic questions like how to use flash. It is.
Oh man. Okay.
You start telling yourself that, oh, I'm a natural light photographer.
Oh, that's where it came from. Okay.
I don't believe in flash. Clearly, he doesn't or she doesn't know flash. So
I'm just thinking back to the number of people who told me this.
First time weddings, I was completely dependent on the ambient light. One more thing that has evolved now, there are workshops, there are YouTube videos. Anybody who wants to learn, he or she can learn without going to school.
You also actually in the middle interned for a brief period with Bharat Matrimony. Was that a strategic endeavor to sort of gain an insight into this field?
No, it was complete fluke. During your MBA, you are supposed to do that 2 months internship. I was chosen by Bharat Matrimony, and even I liked the company. It was a tech company.
Right. This was the end of the .com era.
Yeah, end of the .com era. Entered the .com era. It really attracted me to the whole wedding industry. Honestly, I was in a segment which was not related to luxury weddings, what I'm now into. So there was no calling or something at that time. Oh, this is fun. So my first project, I just told my clients, please book my flight tickets. I really want to shoot your wedding. I will not do anything. So that's where it all began.
But Lakshya, it's so hard at this point to not think of Madhavan's iconic character from Three Idiots who was stuck in engineering while wanting to do wildlife photography all his life. And you touched upon what those initial days would have been like. Did you face a lot of apprehension from your family as far as building a sustainable living out of photography is concerned?
They used to have spurts of when they were like, kya kar rahe ho ye? Tum MBA ho. But the problem was my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and my best
Right.
friend. So my
Yeah.
wife
Yeah.
went to ISB, and you're surrounded by people who are going to Microsoft and people who are 20 under 20 or 25 under 25. You're surrounded by those people in ISB, and suddenly your
Yeah.
boyfriend decides to take up photography. One of my closest people in my life actually said that, Lakshya, I think you are more ambitious than what you're doing. Anybody can do this. I think you're better off than this. Such lines
Yeah.
really motivate you. That
Yeah.
obviously, you don't end up shooting straight away high-end weddings. You have
Yeah.
to go to the grill of very very basic low-key weddings where the client is choosing you because you're giving the lowest budget possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember one of the toughest days was that the wedding got over by 3 or 4 in the morning. I was shooting alone, and I'm waiting at the metro station at 4 in the morning because metro opens at 5:30 in the morning.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's like very demotivating.
Wow.
And with you,
Wow.
that Dholwala city.
Could have been tough.
So that was a tough night, and then you come back home and then you start thinking that is this the career that you're going for? So there are
Yeah.
definitely down days. In the early stages, for sure. I think that persistence and perseverance is so important.
Absolutely. And also, you were actually juggling two things, right? You were breaking into a fairly nascent field, but at the same time, you were also segueing from being someone who was working alone as a photographer to now building your own startup. What was your biggest hurdle in that sense in terms of starting up back in the day and building your niche and name in the space?
Nobody wants to join you when you're new.
Yeah.
When I started, I was 24. You don't
Wow.
even know how to hire the right person.
Right.
No, I think one thing I got really lucky with, my first 3 people who joined me
Hmm.
are the best people that I hired. They didn't belong to photography community, by the way. So my first employee, she basically was an accountant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was 24, she was 22 at that time, and she's like, I'm a commerce graduate. I work with a CA as a junior accountant. I hate my job. I would love to do editing for you.
Wow, what a volte-face.
At that time, I didn't know how to hire. I was looking at Naukri.com and all those
Hmm.
things, and I didn't get the right person. And so I thought at least it'll be better to teach somebody from scratch.
And someone who's willing, right?
Who's willing, who likes this thing, who wants to become an editor, and who's fresh. I like that the zing factor in her. It was a 5-minute interview because I was desperate for someone to join in.
It's more like, please come on.
Please come. Yeah, I need one person to start with. One thing I've realized after starting up is don't force anybody to do work for you. Figure out what the person is good at and let that person enter the phase, the sphere where he's comfortable and good at. So, for example, a few of my shooters, like my cinematographers, were editors also. So I used to tell them to come to office and edit. But I figured out that they are meant for shooting. They're not editors. And whenever we asked them to edit, there were delays.
Yeah, it'll always reflect in the work.
Yeah, there were delays and because they were tired of shooting. And similarly, the editors, they love that 9 to 5 job. They love that stability.
That makes sense. And also, since you spoke of the nature of people who enter this space, Lakshya, what is the general demographic? Are these people who are coming in with a freelance bent of mind? Are these people who are wanting to start a photography outfit of their own? Or are they doing it as a side hustle?
I think it's all mixed right now. Though, side hustle is a bit less, honestly. People who are entering are now very seriously considering it as a career opportunity.
That's good to know.
So when I started, it was different. It was surprising in 2018, like 4 years back, where, I felt the company was quite settled. People were still asking, oh, so it's still a side business or what are you doing? I'm like, no, bro, it's a team of 40.
But cut to 2022, do you still get that question?
Not now. I think luckily, hopefully I've crossed that stage of people.
Thank God for that.
I'm glad.
What do you think the validation was in people's eyes? Because obviously you didn't need the validation. You were doing pretty well. But what do you think the validation in people's eyes is?
I think validation is just that. I think you're constantly getting featured in places. You're doing the top-notch weddings of the country, and eventually they get to know how much you're charging also.
Yeah, I mean, attach celebrity to anything and well, yeah.
Yeah, it did. You make a target, you make a vision statement and a mission statement, like how we learned in an MBA, right? And just go towards it.
There is a bent of mind that you need to come on board with, which has to be that hustler's bent of mind. But you also, like you said, need to have that clarity of purpose. Because otherwise your hustle has no parameter or end game.
Absolutely. So March is the time when everybody's very demotivated because what happens, the season starts in October, everybody's really fresh and oh, let's shoot, let's see. And by February ends, everybody's exhausted. People come to me like, I don't think I'm meant for weddings, I'm going to buy. And then after 4 months of off season, they're like, oh, Laksh, do we have shoots? So
but I remember you mentioning that now that pattern has completely changed post-COVID, and now every non-season is also a season.
Yes. So honestly, things have changed majorly. Like I could not believe that, we are sold out on a few dates in September. It's not as fantastic as how November, December, January. Like you end up meeting your fixed cost, your variable cost. It's not tight how it used to be.
And also anybody entering that space should be fully aware of the practical realities of,
yes, absolutely.
How seasonal the role can be. Lakshya, you've been in this space, like we discussed, 10 plus years and are also a seasoned mentor to a lot of photographers. Today, given the fact that, you've learned so much across this decade plus, what do you suggest a newcomer to equip himself or herself with on the technical front or the softer front while walking into the profession?
Okay, first of all, I think technically the person should definitely start working instead of just going through YouTube. If you're not getting work, just start experimenting with your friends and family. You have your mother in your house, you have a father in your house, you have a sister, you have a dog.
There's inspiration everywhere.
Yeah, there's inspiration everywhere. Go ahead, worst thing you'll do it wrong. You'll make a fool out of yourself. But people forget when you make a fool out of yourself. I have made big blunders, when I was shooting, and I think people have forgotten about it. There's no right and there's no wrong. I saw this campaign by this brand called Torani, where they use hard flash on face and look gorgeous. Usually when we teach, we tell people not to, shoot in a certain angle of light. That's called direct flash. So that used to be like Purane Zamane wale. But just to relive the old moment, they shot the entire campaign with the front flash. So sometimes I feel that there's no right rule. Don't be scared. Start working, start shooting, start doing work for free. It's okay to do your first few projects for free. Every wedding, I end up shooting like 20,000-30,000 images. You just multiply that by 30 weddings that I shoot. The process it's an open-ended thing, this entire world of creativity.
You spoke of the creative aspect of the art form, and it's very interesting that we're having this conversation in this light, because for the longest time, wedding photography was always seen as a vendor-focused service and not really as an art form.
And of course, that's changing, right? But at the end of the day, it isn't just about the creativity. There's a huge aspect of professionalism attached. How do you juggle taking those creative liberties while also delivering to your clients?
Okay, so specifically talking about wedding photography, there are multiple stakeholders. It's not only the couple, but also the parents. I keep 10% for myself, for your creative satisfaction, 50-60% for the couple, what they like, what they want to look at, what they would like to see themselves as, and 30% for, my math is wrong here, I think 40, I would say 20, 50,
whatever is left.
No, I would rather increase it for the couple and then the family. For some people, it's 50% for myself because I'm new in the industry and I want for Instagram. Honestly, the first few weddings were like this. I want to improve my gram, or at that time Facebook. I want to win awards. But this industry in India is so word of mouth heavy that no matter how amazing your Instagram, you will still get the best of the best weddings only through references.
Very true.
Yeah, I'll give you a very interesting data point. We get about, on average, 60 leads a month, so 720 leads a year, out of which we end up closing 10.
Oh.
Yeah. Rest of the 40-50 weddings are purely through referrals. And if you take out the percentage, our hit rate in lead to Instagram is about 2%. Upper limit, 1.8% to 2% is our hit rate. Whereas if it's a reference, our hit rate goes up to 30%.
So it's safe to say that the gram work is primarily brand building.
Gram work is brand building. So gram work works in this way that, say Medha, you recommend your friend and your friend will see your work and also she'll go on the gram and see, okay, they have good work in general. But the first point will be Medha. It's a big day, no?
The first factor will always be resonance with the way you're approaching wedding photography and what your creative outlook is. But then the second thing is always comfort with the people who are going to be around you through your, like you said, the most important few days of your life.
Yes.
I've always wanted to ask you this, and now I've decided to ask you this on a recorded chat with a bunch of others listening. Ironically, you named your wedding photography outfit Shutter Down. How did that happen? I've been dying to know.
Yes, you'll be very disappointed to know.
Are you saying it's just like shutter is a word that's used in photography and we were like, okay, shut it down?
And when I named it Shut It Down, it was the day one I bought my camera. And the moment you buy a camera, every person is a photographer. The thing I do is make a Facebook page, and so
Right.
I followed the same pattern because I saw my seniors and, they had cameras and they were clicking photos of all the girls in the college. I'm like, shit, I also want a camera.
Yeah. Are we going to mute this part for Niharika? Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. She was one of them I was clicking. So,
Oh,
yeah.
great. We're not snipping it out. Yeah.
My personality always was like fun, so you have to make it something more quirky. And then,
Right.
it has to have some photography. But the shutter speed is one of the shutter or the camera
Right.
is one. And then I did the worst thing. I went to GoDaddy.com.
Such a practical thing to do. I mean,
Yeah.
you think of the name, but domain nahi mila to kya fayda?
Exactly. So I went on GoDaddy and I figured, अच्छा कौन सा domain name मिल रहा है? Oh, Shutterdown मिल रहा है. Shutterdown is a fun name. It resonates with my personality. Well, the old school people are like, तुमने तो business शुरू करने से पहले Shutterdown
बंद कर दिया है. Great conversation starter, right? It's such a fun name.
I never knew that this name will become a conversation starter for sure. It was just a name available on GoDaddy and on Facebook.
Now the world knows the story. Also, interestingly, the shutter is never down at Shutterdown
Yes.
because you guys work around the clock. I hope that always stays.
Yes.
Lakshya, you spoke of creativity and the originality that one pieces into the work that you do, and now, like you mentioned, there is slowly a growing opportunity and space for wedding photographers to exercise that creative liberty and originality. How do you incorporate that in what you do, and what sets Shutterdown apart in terms of a differentiating factor?
Our average age, despite me growing old, is still 25.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So we love hiring new people. I feel that they get a new zing. That's the way we can keep up to the very challenging creatives that have become. Always, whenever a team goes, the average age is 25, 26, which used to be 3 years back also. Because, when you're new, you don't care about making mistakes because you have nothing to lose. We kind of cover it up for them. So if you're shooting with 7 people, maybe 2 people new out of the 7. So even if the 2 people underperform, I have the main team performing perfect. But those 2 people can make it way more creative also. Because, their mind is fresh. It's a clean slate. They can get ideas which are like out of the box. As you grow, you get comfortable with certain things that the client. I know what I need to do to ensure that the promo and the long film and the photos are good to go in the first go itself. But when a new person comes, we will like to experiment. You're like, let's do this. I'm like, yeah, the client will reject it. But you at least try karke dekhte hain. What if they love it? So that keeps your creativity up and fresh. Even though the clients will love it, but I talked about that 10% for your satisfaction. See, we are shooting the same thing again and again. We start चार फेरे होते हैं जो actually start होते हैं कई बार. What changes for us as people?
I think that's the cycle of change that we've covered in the course of this podcast as well, Lakshya. The fact that back in the day, the service was seen as people shooting weddings. There was a mundanity attached to it, and the creative aspect could never really come to the fore. You very correctly pointed out that bringing those emotions to the fore is center stage in whatever you do, and think of it from that angle. All weddings look unique to you. Lakshya, has there been a high point in your career, or are you still waiting for it?
I don't know, man. Like 3 years back, I thought I was at the high point. Today, I feel I'm at the high point. It's just like the bar keeps raising every time.
You're the person who loves the process more than the end game.
Exactly. So I honestly don't have an end vision. Every year, I like to, do something new or, change some structure. I never look at a high point or, a target that I want to achieve. I just have made a mission statement that, this is how we'll work. This is how we're going to be. And that's going on well. So I heard the statement somewhere. It's copied from someone else. I want to get that cocktail of creativity in the team so that everybody's drunk on creativity.
I love that.
I don't know who said that, but I read it somewhere and I love that line.
If you had to maybe give a few words of wisdom to people entering your space, what do you think that would be?
First thing, don't run after money for at least first 3 years. Run after your own growth, your knowledge growing. I think starting off early, if whether you're 18, 16, 15, 20, 25, first 2 years, just don't think about money. Focus on becoming the best. And I see great work. And I see that I'm not getting leads. How do we work on that? So I tell them be patient. When I started, the market was very different. Right now, it is crowded. A lot of great photographers coming up at a very young age. I think keeping patient, consistently doing good work.
Absolutely. Lakshya, it's always incredibly fun chatting with you. You know, I love the work you do, and there's an overwhelmingly large section of young aspirants looking to make photography a career choice today, given how opportunities have absolutely boomed in the sector. And I could not be happier that could get you to give a snippet to those aspirants into what their life could look like. Thank you so much for offering your time. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
No, thanks a lot. I'm glad to be here. This was really, really fun. And I hope all the best to you as well, Medha. I think this is a fantastic thing that you're creating. My time, there used to be no education. Now that thing is there, it is so much easier, to
Right.
just understand your career opportunities. Actually, हमारे time पे बस एक था कि आप CA बन जाओ, engineer बन जाओ, doctor बन जाओ.
So, which is why you find most people from our generation who went through the rut and then at the end of it were like, up full volte-face karna hai, ye nahi karna hai. Now we want to go into like, I don't know, photography, become dancers, do something else.
Yeah, and Instagram has really bumped it
Change
up.
the game. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Let's Talk Shop. Mentorsphere is a platform that connects students and early stage working professionals to industry mentors for career guidance. If you're looking to connect with an industry mentor from your sector, head over to the link in the description and book your slot with our mentors today.